Throw away for obvious reasons. I've lurked here for years, never thought I'd be that guy posting my mess. But here we are. I'm a 33M, and I've been married to my wife, Emily, 31F, for almost 5 years. No kids. Thank God. To understand this story, you need to know two things about me. I was raised by two dads. Not in the modern progressive sense. I mean, I had my biological father, filthy rich, cold as ice, corporate titan, and my stepfather, dirt poor, drove a tow truck, lived in a trailer park, but the kindest man I've ever known. My mom married my stepdad after divorcing my real dad when I was 10. They both stayed in my life. And their values? Couldn't be more different. Rich dad. Get even. Protect your name. No one respects a loser. Per dad. Be kind. Forgive if you can. Walk away with dignity. Now, Emily, on the surface, she seemed like a mix of class and charm. Worked in PR. Always had a way with words. I was captivated by how put together she was. Always had an answer. Always knew what to say. I met her at a charity gala my father dragged me to. She laughed at his jokes, knew all the right buzzwords, and acted like she belonged in his world. Looking back, that should have been my first clue. She was playing a role, and I was too blind or maybe too desperate to see it. At first, things were perfect. At least, they felt perfect. She wanted the big wedding, the house in the suburbs, the Range Rover, and I gave it to her. My dad even paid for the honeymoon in Santorini, private villa, plunge pool, the whole deal. The trouble started slow, like a faucet dripping in the night. She started lying about little things, what time she got home, who she was texting, why she was dressed up when I got back from my business trips. But I brushed it off. She's a PR manager, I told myself. Of course she needs to look good. Of course she's always on her phone. That's her job. Then she forgot to log out of her iPad one night. And I saw a text from a number saved under Mel, Nails, and it wasn't Mel. It was some guy named Travis. The messages? Let's just say he wasn't asking about top coat colors. But here's the thing. I didn't explode. Not right away. I took the iPad. I walked outside. And I stared at the thing like it was a foreign object. I wasn't angry. Not at first. Just blank. Like someone had turned off the lights in my brain. I sat on the porch swing my stepdad gave me and just stared at the night sky, the way I used to when life was simple and real. And for the first time, I thought, what would each of my fathers tell me to do now? So after reading those messages between Emily and Travis, the kind that make your stomach turn and your chest tighten, I did something completely out of character for me. I didn't throw the iPad. I didn't storm in and scream. I didn't call my rich dad to ask about private investigators. Instead, I took a deep breath and called my stepdad. It was past midnight, and he picked up on the second ring. He always does. I didn't even have to explain everything. I just said, something's wrong. I think Emily's cheating on me. He paused for a while and then asked, do you want to talk, or do you want to act? That question stuck with me. I didn't answer it. Not yet. The next morning, I made the mistake of confronting her before I was ready. I went against both Dad's advice, because I hadn't asked either of them what they'd actually do. I was just in pain and wanted her to hurt, too. She was in the kitchen making her oat milk latte, like nothing had happened. Hair curled, silk robe, humming Taylor Swift. I said, who the hell is Travis? Her face dropped for a microsecond. I caught it. Then she went into full PR mode. Oh my God, babe, you're not serious. That's Melanie's brother. He helped us move the coffee table, remember? Lie number one. Really? I held up the iPad. Her face changed. That mask she always wore cracked like thin ice. Then came the waterworks. The gaslighting. The fake apologies. She said, I didn't do anything with him. We were just talking. You've been so emotionally unavailable lately. You travel so much. I felt alone. Classic. Blame me for the affair. Then she said something that made me freeze. This wouldn't have happened if you were more like your real dad. Assertive, powerful. You're always trying to be your poor dad, and it's weak. She said it like the word tasted bitter. That was the first time she said out loud what I think she always believed. That she married me for the lifestyle, not the man. That she was ashamed I wasn't cold, rich, and ruthless, just rich. I didn't say a word. I just left. I drove 3 hours to my stepdad's trailer. He handed me a beer before I even got out of the car. We sat outside while the sun went down. I told him everything. The texts. The lies, the manipulation, and he just listened. Then he asked, What do you think your other dad would tell you to do? I laughed bitterly. He'd tell me to burn the whole thing down and send her a bill. Stepdad nodded. And what do you want to do? That's when I realized I didn't know. So after spending the night at my stepdad's place, I drove straight to my father's office. No appointment. No warning. He didn't look surprised to see me, probably because his assistant had already buzzed him. He sat there behind his ridiculous antique desk, sipping espresso like a Bond villain in Business Casual. Emily's cheating, I said, dropping into the leather chair across from him. He didn't flinch. He just nodded, as if I told him it might rain later. Then he said, "Of course she is." I blinked. "What?" He shrugged. "I told you the day you brought her to the house for dinner. She was looking at the walls more than she looked at you. That's not love, that's inventory." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. He knew. And never said anything. I asked him, "Why didn't you tell me?" He leaned back and said, "Because you would have defended her. And because learning who someone really is painfully builds character. Now you know. So, what are you going to do about it?" That was his version of a hug, I guess. I told him she tried to turn it around on me. That she blamed me for being too soft. He smirked. That's the game. They want the castle, then hate the king for not being cruel enough. Then he got up, walked over to his safe I hadn't even noticed behind a sliding panel, of course, and pulled out a manila folder. "Read this," he said, handing it to me. "It's the prenup. Your prenup." I flipped through it, and, holy hell, my dad had buried her. Infidelity clause. Financial forfeiture. No alimony. No claims to the house. No joint assets beyond a shared checking account with a cap. I looked at him and said, "You made her sign this?" He nodded. "Of course. You're my only child. I protect my assets." I don't know what I felt in that moment. Relief, guilt, anger, gratitude. All of it, maybe. But that's when he dropped the real bomb. He said, "I also had her background checked. You didn't want to hear it at the time, but now you will." He opened a second folder. Turns out, Travis wasn't the first. There was a guy named Julian, 2 years ago, business consultant. They stayed at a hotel in Chicago while I was at a tech conference in San Jose. And another one named Lauren. Yeah, a woman. Her Pilates instructor. I felt my hands shaking. I asked him, "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" And he said, "Because you needed to be done with her on your own terms. Now you are." I left with the files in my passenger seat and one thought banging around in my head. She wasn't just a liar. She was a professional. So I drove back home, still numb, with the folders sitting on my passenger seat like radioactive waste. When I walked into the house, Emily was on the couch in yoga pants, watching The Bachelor and sipping wine like nothing had happened. She looked up, smiled, actually smiled, and said, "Can we please just talk like adults?" I didn't answer. I placed the folder on the coffee table. She stared at it like it was a snake. "What's that?" she asked, already defensive. I sat down across from her and said, "This is the part where you tell me the truth. All of it. Right now. You get one chance." She went quiet for a second. Then she sniffed, looked up at me with those mascara-misted eyes, and said, "Okay, yes, I had one emotional affair. With Travis. But nothing physical ever happened, I swear. One emotional affair." She doubled down. "After everything." I took a deep breath, opened the folder, and slid the hotel receipt from Chicago across the table. Her eyes flicked down, blinked. Then the waterworks came again. She said, "Okay, that one was a mistake. It was one night. I was drunk. You had just canceled your flight home. I felt abandoned. Unreal." I asked her, "And what about Lauren?" Her face did this twitch. That's when I knew she'd never expected me to ever know about that one. She said, "Wait, you mean my friend Lauren?" I almost laughed. I just said, "No, I mean your Pilates instructor. The one you spent the night with when I was in Atlanta." That's when she realized there was no salvaging it. Her face hardened, like a mask snapping into place. And she said something I'll never forget. "You know what? Maybe I did cheat. But that's what people do when they're stuck in a relationship that's all show. You don't love me. You love the idea of me. Just like your dad loves the idea of you being a man. But you're not. You're just a sad little boy with 2 daddies and no balls." That one hit me like a truck. She wasn't just a liar. She was mean. Cruel in that surgical way people get when they know you too well. I stood up, nodded slowly, and said, "Thanks. You just made this easier." I walked upstairs, locked the door, and started packing. Not her stuff. Mine. I called my lawyer the next morning and told him to initiate the divorce. And I emailed her from a burner account a single sentence. For the prenup, you get nothing. Good luck with Travis. About 3 days after I emailed her about the divorce, I got a message from her best friend. Let's call her Jenna. We'd always gotten along in that polite, mutual friends kind of way, but we'd never talked one-on-one. She texted me, "Hey, I know things are messy right now, but if you ever want the truth, the real truth, I think you deserve to hear it." I was suspicious, but curious. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway across town. Neutral ground. She showed up looking nervous, ordered a chamomile tea, and didn't waste time. Jenna said, "I was in on it at the beginning. The plan." I raised my eyebrows. Plan. And then she just dumped everything. Apparently, 2 years before we got married, Emily had found out about my family's wealth from a sorority friend who used to date my cousin. She Googled me, stalked my social media, figured out I wasn't flashy but had quiet money. She liked that, so she came up with a plan. Step 1. Get close to me organically through mutual friends. Step 2. Mirror my interests, pretend to be low maintenance. Step 3. Lock it down fast, marriage and joint finances. I felt sick. Jenna continued. It was like a game to her. She'd call you her exit strategy. She was with this older guy before you, and when that didn't pan out, she shifted focus. I asked, "Why are you telling me this now?" She looked down at her tea. Because she lied to me, too. Told me Travis was just a one-time thing. Then I found out she's been talking to his cousin, too. And Lauren's roommate. It's like she doesn't even care anymore. I can't be part of this. That word again, professional. Emily wasn't heartbroken. She was working a system, and she thought she was good at it, until the prenup she forgot to read all the way through bit her. The weirdest part? I didn't feel rage. I felt freedom, like I had been trapped in a velvet prison and someone had finally turned the key. I thanked Jenna and left. That evening, I sent her a message. "I don't know what kind of friend you were, but thank you for being a human being now." She didn't respond, but I didn't need her to. It had been about 2 weeks since I served her with the divorce papers. I'd moved in temporarily with my poor dad, small house, loud neighbors, no dishwasher, but honestly, the silence between the people felt cleaner than the marble countertops at home. Then one night, 11:47 p.m., I get an email. Subject, "Can we talk?" It was from Emily. I should have deleted it. I should have blocked her. But of course, curiosity overpowered my better judgment. I opened it. I've been thinking a lot, and I don't want things to end like this. I know I made mistakes, but I also know you still care. Otherwise, you wouldn't have looked into everything. I almost laughed out loud, like my investigating her betrayal was some kind of love letter. Then came the kicker. I think we rushed into the divorce. Maybe therapy could help. And if you could give me just 6 months in the house while I figure out next steps, I'd really appreciate it. 6 months in the house. The house I paid for. Furnished. Maintained. The house she tried to flip into her launch pad for a future with another man. And the best part? She signed the email. Love. Emily 2 Arts. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer with a 2-word note. Absolutely not. A week later, I saw a post on her private Instagram, thanks to Jenna, who still had access and sent me screenshots. It was a photo of her in my kitchen captioned, "Sometimes people only realize your worth when it's too late. Nail polish #healing #truth hurts." You know what the comments were? Preach, sis. Men don't know what they have until they lose it. And the one that made me drop my phone. Travis wasn't even that cute, TBH. Apparently, she wasn't even hiding it anymore. After all that nonsense, the email, the Instagram post, the public self-victimization, I needed air. Not just physical space, but emotional oxygen. I sat out on the back porch with my poor dad one evening. He was drinking gas station coffee, sitting in a busted-up lawn chair with duct tape on one armrest, and I just blurted out, "How did you not end up bitter after Mom left you for a plastic surgeon?" He laughed, not bitterly, but genuinely. Then he said something I'll never forget. Because I realized her leaving was the best damn favor anyone ever did for me. Sometimes a wreck sets you on a better road. I looked at him sideways. Even though she took everything, he sipped, then shrugged. She took the money, yeah, but I kept my dignity. And that's what rebuilt my life. Then he looked straight at me and added, "You're not your bank account. You're not your last name. You're the way you handle being blindsided." If this made you bitter, then she wins twice. That hit like a quiet lightning bolt. I had spent so much time trying to figure out how she fooled me, and not enough asking why I ignored my gut. I realized something that night. I had inherited more from him than I'd ever realized. Resilience, self-respect, quiet strength. The next morning, I called my rich dad. Told him everything. His response, "We'll clean this up legally. But emotionally, you're on your own, kid. Learn fast." Cold, efficient, expected. But I didn't feel abandoned. I felt clear. Between both of them, one poor, one rich, I finally understood which kind of wealth mattered when life kicked you in the chest. So I thought things were settling. I was done engaging. My lawyer had everything lined up, and I was just waiting for the ink to dry. But Emily wasn't done playing games. One morning I got a text from Jenna. It just said, "Bro, check Facebook." Now, Emily had posted a long, dramatic public letter on her Facebook timeline. It was one of those posts written like a monologue, meant to make her the tragic protagonist in some Lifetime movie. The highlights? She claimed I was emotionally unavailable and weaponized money during our marriage. She said she'd made mistakes out of loneliness, but always tried to salvage the love. She implied I had control issues because I didn't want to pay her rent post-divorce. And, I kid you not, she called me a man raised with 2 fathers and no backbone. The comments were wild. Some people sided with her. Mostly her yoga buddies and influencer-adjacent friends who barely knew me. But then came the backlash. Travis's ex-girlfriend, yep, he had one, commented. "So this is the same Emily who tried to DM my brother while still married? Girl, sit down." Another comment from a woman I didn't even know. "You shouldn't play victim when there's screenshots floating around. Don't poke the internet." And then Jenna, sweet, quiet Jenna, dropped a nuke. "You were never lonely, Emily. Just greedy. Hoped that free Pilates class was worth the prenup." Mic drop. She deleted the post within 48 hours. But it was too late. The mask had slipped. The people she counted on to blindly support her turned on her once the truth leaked through. And me? I didn't have to say a word. The power of silence. Of letting someone's own lies bury them deeper than you ever could. I never expected to see Travis. Ever. But life has a funny way of putting people right in your path when you've made peace with never getting closure. It was at a hardware store, of all places. I was looking at paint swatches, planning to redo the guest room at my dad's house, when I saw this guy staring at an aisle of lawnmowers like he'd rather be anywhere else. We locked eyes. I knew it was him. He knew it was me. For a second, I thought we were about to have some old-fashioned showdown. You know, primal male posturing, a tense, you know what you did moment. But instead, he winced. Then he said, "Man, I owe you an apology." I was not ready for that. He walked over, hands up like I might punch him, and added, "I didn't know she was married at first. She told me you guys were separated." I stared at him. "And when you found out?" "She said it was complicated. Claimed you were controlling, and she was scared to leave." He looked genuinely uncomfortable, like someone who finally realized the grenade he was tossing around had a real pin missing. I was an idiot. I figured it wasn't my problem. But she's toxic, man. It got weird real fast. I believed him. Not because I wanted to, but because he looked like someone who just survived the same hurricane I barely escaped from. He told me she started sending his boss flirty messages, then borrowed his car without asking, then broke into his phone while he was asleep. She plays sweet, but man, there's this switch. His exact words. I nodded. Yeah, I married the switch. We ended up talking for 20 minutes. No tension. Just 2 guys who fell into the same web at different angles. He offered to buy me a coffee. I declined, not out of spite, just peace. "We're both free now," I said. "Let's keep it that way." And that was that. For the first time, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not jealousy. Not even betrayal. Just clean air. Like I'd closed a book that used to own my nights. One gave me the tools to survive something money couldn't fix. I lost a house. A wife. A version of my life I thought I wanted. But I gained my spine back. Looking back, there were signs. Little things. How she talked down to waiters. How she lied easily, even about dumb stuff like who called her. How she once said, "You don't understand struggle," as if that was a badge of honor she wore better than me. Here's what I learned the hard way. Loyalty isn't proven by words. It's revealed under pressure. If someone makes you feel like your standards are too much, They're probably scared they can't meet them. Never, ever ignore the gut feeling that tells you something is off. If you're reading this and you're in a relationship where you feel like you're being drained emotionally, financially, or spiritually, please listen to that whisper. And if you're someone who came from two different worlds, like me, don't be ashamed of the broke parent, the one who showed up, not just paid up. Because when things hit the fan, you'll remember who taught you how to stand up, not who taught you how to invest. As for Emily, last I heard, she tried to rebrand herself as a relationship coach on TikTok. The comments didn't go well. She's quiet now. And me? I'm still at my poor dad's house for now. We watch basketball, grill burgers, talk about nothing and everything. It feels more like home than marble floors ever did.